Good afternoon and welcome everyone. I would like to first thank the organizers for arranging this meeting. I'm Alaa Nousir, a master's student in the iStudio lab at Queen's University in Canada, and one of the authors of this paper. This paper was supervised by Professor Sara, Nabil, the head of iStudio lab. My presentation for today is titled COVIDware, Designing Interactive Everyday Things as Tangible Homeware for Social Isolation. We will briefly go over the introduction and the problem we are trying to address, and lead on to explaining how we addressed it and what our key insights are. With stay-at-home orders that occurred during the pandemic, the lack of in-person social communication with friends and family became more prominent. The new normal of physically distant interactions, whether it's due to immune or health reasons, senior living, or among others, warrants new ways of mitigating the loss of physical interaction. In this paper, we introduced the concept of COVIDware to refer to tangible interfaces designed for applications related to supporting people living through pandemics, lockdowns, and self-isolation. Even post-pandemic, we believe this notion will continue to be needed, not only to reflect on one of the most life-changing circumstances which people have experienced, but also to advocate for designing through, for, and with individuals and groups who will continue to choose to self-isolate. Numerous works have investigated creating interactive everyday things, but as the prolonged circumstances of the pandemic persisted, we needed to learn to live increasingly indoors and online. Our motivation also stems from the call of researchers and practitioners in the HCI and interaction design communities, indicating that developing new forms of remote social communication is one of the ways to address the common question of how can we contribute to shaping the new normal? During the COVID pandemic and lockdowns enforced by local authorities, 3 designers were recruited by email, and 2 more were recruited by snowballing. Our criteria for designer recruitment were people who have an artistic background and are passionate about designing, making, and crafting, and are interested in applying innovative technology in creative ways. Experience in electronics was not necessary, but it was valued. We gave them a design brief to design an interactive everyday object to promote well-being during self-isolation. Each designer was working alone from their residence during stay-at-home order lockdown without ever meeting any of the others in person. Our study involved in total 5 participants, all are females, age ranged from 20 to 30, and who were university students studying computer science. Our study produced 5 different artifacts, each built by one of the designers. These artifacts were mainly interior decors with sensors and actuators embedded seamlessly within them to engage participants through interaction. We divide these experiments into 3 study cases, where study 1 with designer 1 yielded the first artifact, which is Meara, a color-changing painting based on the time of the day, and study 2 with the second designer yielded the artifact Monexia, which is a color-changing painting based on interaction. And study 3 was a group of 3 designers developing together an overarching theme for their work, yielded 3 more artifacts. One of these artifacts is the connectivity candle, which you can see here. This artifact consists of 2 candles that are wisely connected and can be placed in separate homes as a new mode of remote communication. We conducted brainstorming and reflective sessions examining these everyday interactive things. For researchers and designers who want to design and build interactive homeware to be used in self-isolation, our interpretations of this research findings suggest several design opportunities worthy of continued investigation. The most prominent principle that all artifacts followed was the biophilic nature of the design. Even though none of the designers collaborated during the making phase, their designs were all predominantly inspired by nature. In the process of learning through making, designers intentionally wanted an imperfect look to their final product, as it gives an authentic, natural accent to it. Another common theme, followed by all the designers without collaborating to do so, was the element of employing unconventional interactions and incorporating multi-sensory interactivity. Some people are staying at home more than ever before. They are looking to compensate for their interaction with the world by interacting with homeware using tactile, visual, and auditory and olfactory experiences. Lastly, our findings show also that an interactive artwork can support the well-being of people during lockdown by engaging the senses of visual and olfactory interaction to better connect together and to their mist surrounding environment. Lastly, to summarize, we were motivated by the need for support during self-isolation, and we recruited participants who developed artifacts and reflected on them in brainstorming sessions. We hope that the critical reflective reporting of our design research can be appreciated as an effort to better support diversified and inclusive design research in the UHCI community. More generally, we hope that our concept and examples of COVIDware designs and design processes inspire further research on effective communication using interactive, seamless artworks, homeware objects, and everyday things. And that was a brief summary of the paper. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, and it's always nice to bring into this interaction area the dimension of art, and thank you for doing that. It's really fabulous. But maybe thinking of a main outcome, a social outcome of your project. Do you think this could scale up as a process? Do you think this could be really taken more globally? This has such a lot to do with aesthetics, where emotion is very central. So I was looking here also, I know it's very centered in art, but once again, we are here also discussing knowledge, understanding how this can be shared. At a certain point, we could try and scale this up. Could you just share with us how, I know it doesn't have to be in your process, but anyway, if you have some kind of reflective exercise concerning this, could you share it with us, Alaa?
Yes, so I'd like to talk more about the process of recruiting the participants and how this can be implemented in the HCI research. So the thing is, HCI practitioners and even passionate individuals about art, they can maybe they can learn to embed technologies and various sensors into everyday things. Right now, you can see everything around you is very static and it doesn't have any interactivity within it. And most of the time, the only thing that we interact with is screen-based media, whether it's our phones or our laptops. But what we were trying to do here is to inspire future UHCI researchers to embed such technologies into our everyday things. So taking as an example this connectivity candle, during the pandemic, people were communicating together through online chatting or maybe social media posts or similar alternatives. But at the same time, people were very strained and stressed about having to be always using a screen. This kind of interaction, this kind of new interaction allowed people to communicate together because these candles actually later on were deployed in 2 different homes. And these work by, so they sense their surrounding. And whenever someone is near one of the candles, the other candle lights up. And so this was deployed actually in in 2 homes that were 2 cities away. And so whenever someone goes into, for example, their dining room and starts dining and finds that this connectivity candle next to them lighted up, they know that someone else in this other city is communicating with them. They're also sitting in their dining room, communicating together. So it's kind of creating this new forms of communication, and at the same time inspiring HCR researchers to utilize their crafts and their artworks and their passions for crafting in general to embed various technologies in innovative ways that has not been explored yet. So speaking of scaling, I wouldn't say we would scale these artifacts in a commercialized way and massive production manner, but we would scale it in the sense that we would inspire HCI researchers to look more into creating innovative technologies in unconventional ways to summarize.